For more than a decade, Rasputin was a real power behind the throne, with enough influence to appoint and remove ministers. Russia no longer has a throne, but Rasputin's chair seems to be a distant substitute. Over the last few years, the village of Pokrovskaya has seen a stream of public officials who, after coming in contact with this piece of furniture, made big advances in their careers.
Have a look, this is Sergei Sobyanin. Pay attention to his pose. He used to be a regional governor, but after sitting on the chair, he became the head of the presidential administration.
But the magic is apparently not for everyone. The chair was donated to the museum by Victor, whose great-grandmother used to work for the Rasputins. Despite using the chair for several decades, Victor has neither a job nor a family. Instead, he spends his days wandering around the village. His famous countryman also traveled a lot. Grigory Rasputin was an accomplished pilgrim. He covered thousands of kilometers by foot, reaching monasteries in Greece and Israel. But there was one country he wondered about but never got a chance to visit, and that was the United States of America. At the turn of the 20th century, many Russian peasants immigrated to the States and were sending home not only money, but also stories about how great it was to be American farmers. To Rasputin, who often complained about the abuse of the little man in Russia, America really seemed like a peasant's paradise. But one of his daughters, Maria, did fulfill her American dream. After the revolution, she moved to the States, where she danced in a circus. Before leaving Russia, she took her husband's name, but in America, changed it back to Rasputin.
I think she quickly realized that the name was widely known and could benefit her artistic career. She desperately needed a job. She needed money. After all, she had 2 children to feed.
The Tsarina, too, was a restless mother. Her intense fear for her son's life undoubtedly helped Rasputin gain so much influence. But for the boy himself, at times, it was simply overwhelming. Despite his ailment, Alexei was an active, agile boy who, by the age of 12, grew tired of his mother's never-ending anxiety. So once he decided to prove he was like everybody else, so he took a sleigh and slid down the staircase. This show of independence almost cost him his life. He fell, damaged his groin, and remained wheelchair-bound for the rest of his life. Stas is now about the same age as the heir was at the time of the staircase accident. Just like the heir, he's starting to test his limits. And there are plenty of them. His mom wouldn't let him skate or ride a bicycle. In fact, even this basketball session led to dire consequences.
I definitely understand the Tsarina and her situation. When your child is sick, you'll do anything to heal his pain. And if you meet someone who can help your son, you trust this person completely. You put him on a pedestal and start worshipping him, just for the sake of your child's health.
The Tsarina's never-ending fears accentuated another of her psychological hallmarks: the obsession with everything mysterious, spiritual, religious. The ways of God may be inscrutable, but the ways to God are even more so. For Roman in Germany, the path to the Almighty lies through painting icons, in this case, the icon of Grigory Rasputin. While Roman is not the first person to grant Rasputin a halo, such depictions are still very rare. Most of them came out of small Orthodox sects, who often find themselves in opposition to the Moscow Patriarchate. Yet Roman believes one day Rasputin will become a saint for all Orthodox believers.
Russia has seen many saints who were initially persecuted but later canonized. I think the same could happen with Grigory Rasputin. It's God who decides these things, not people.
Contrary to the popular belief, Rasputin was never ordained either as a monk or as a priest. In fact, many church hierarchs saw him as an impostor, and many still do. In 2004, the Moscow Patriarchate ordered all depictions of Grigory Rasputin be taken out of the churches. But not out of hearts. Rasputin's great-granddaughter still keeps his icon in a purse. A devout Orthodox believer, Laurence Iod Solovyov belongs to this small church in Paris. But on the day our camera arrived, she wasn't let in.
This alienation is directed not toward me, but rather toward my great-grandfather, whom they would never openly discuss. I was told that the Patriarch had nothing against Rasputin. He just wasn't sure which side to take. And here in France, priests are even more cautious.
Alienation is a familiar feeling for Yelena too. Left one-on-one with her son's incurable disease, she's used to relying on nobody but herself. And while at the moment she has an ample supply of drugs, Yelena is still fearful of what lies ahead.
I still have a lot of apprehension. It's been just a year or two since we started getting these drugs, and you don't know what will happen next.
Yelena's premonitions proved accurate. While playing basketball, Stas slipped and damaged his knee. The injury kept the boy in bed for more than a week, straining his mom's nerves and raising superstitious fears of Rasputin's revenge. Hemophilia wasn't the only ailment Rasputin attempted to cure. According to his contemporaries, he successfully treated chronic illnesses and psychological disorders, but there was one condition he was helpless to address, both in others and in himself: addiction to alcohol. The health of Rasputin lookalike Victor is also undermined by years of heavy drinking. The wake-up call came when doctors told him his days would be numbered if he didn't quit.
Hello.
Hello.
Give me some milk.
Since then, Victor's been trying to replace his favorite vodka with a healthier drink.
They used to sell Rasputin vodka here, from Germany. It was good, especially with salted mushrooms.
While historians still debate whether Rasputin was a drunkard, excessive drinking has always been a major problem for Russia. Across the country, 40,000 people die each year of alcohol poisoning. Rasputin's alleged romance with the bottle is well publicized, but even more so is his affection for the finer sex. His detractors ascribe to him numerous liaisons with high society dames, including the Tsarina herself.
People didn't like Alexandra Fyodorovna, and rhymes from that time show that. The Tsar had a military medal called the George Cross, or simply Yegori. So the popular joke was, our Tsar is with Yegori, our Tsarina is with Grigori, alluding to her relations with Rasputin.
And some believe Rasputin's amorous accomplishments, true or not, need to be immortalized, though in a somewhat unconventional way. This prostate clinic in St. Petersburg boasts one of Rasputin's most private parts as an exhibit.
I think Rasputin was Russia's Sigmund Freud. He was Russia's first sexologist, and he came before Freud and his followers. He was the first to realize that, for women, it's vital not only to be loved, but also to have sexual relations, to be completely satisfied.
While the clinic brazenly uses the image of Rasputin to attract new clients, it has never attempted to prove the authenticity of this item, and had it tried, it would have most likely failed. Rasputin's death, long and merciless, excluded any chance of retrieving body parts. In December 1916, just months before the revolution, he was murdered by a group of aristocrats, poisoned, shot, and drowned. Rasputin's death, like his life, divided Russia into two opposing camps. Those who killed him thought he was Russia's curse. But for several days after his body was recovered, people kept coming here with buckets to get what they believed to be holy water. And more than 90 years after his death, Rasputin continues to be a dividing force. A great-nephew of one of his killers, Pyotr Sheremetyev, still blames Rasputin for what happened to his family and his country.
His presence at the court was one of the reasons for the revolution. He was responsible for the fall of Imperial Russia. And so, essentially, he robbed me of my homeland.
Ironically, almost a century after Rasputin's death, his descendants and the relatives of his killer both reside in Paris. The two families were forced to leave Russia after the revolution and have never met until this encounter in a restaurant.
Hello.
Hello, do you speak Russian?
A little bit.
A little bit.
While neither hides their antagonism towards the other, the conversation ends on a conciliatory note.
We are not responsible for the actions of our ancestors.
No, we are not. But we are still, as they say, concerned parties. At least I, as an heir of my family, consider myself responsible.
Yes, I understand.
Thank you for meeting me.
Thank you.
Thousands of kilometers from Paris, in the village where Rasputin was born 140 years ago, life hasn't changed much. Men still work the land, and women still complain about their husbands' unabashed drinking. The village has no church, only a large cross that now carries a familiar portrait. It is here that people like Victor, who doesn't believe in God, come when life gets hard, when they find themselves at the crossroads of good and bad, of virtue and sin.